adherence to my own principles, again, that's the only time you're going to see that strict of an adherence to principles, is if the person developed them themselves. People can predict what I would do in in a random situation that no one's ever even heard of. What would Jeff do? They would be able to tell you approximately what Jeff would do, even if that's a situation no one's ever even heard of, because they know I operate in accordance with a set of principles, and that my standards of behavior would reflect those underlying principles, and if they have a good idea of what my underlying priorities and principles are, they can predict what my standards of behavior would be. So I have a job to do here. I accept my role in this. I'm going to cut right now to Chalk Body Outline and James True. 2 links in the description that are mandatory homework if you accept your role in this. And as I've said on my way to Missouri, we learn simultaneously, and the Spirit coordinates these experiences with multiple levels and layers of learning. Where you're not sure who's teaching who, like I said when I went out to Missouri, it's like they were all there waiting for me. In the exchange, I learned a lot from them, but it's like they were there waiting for me. So Chalk Body Outline talks about the divorce that's about to happen. I believe he's right, and this is what I've been referring to about separating into different petri dishes with others that are just like you. And this is what Abraham Hicks spoke of when her husband asked the spirit, Abraham, that they channeled directly, why don't we just put everyone on island prisons? Put the rapists with the rapists and the murderers with the murderers. And the spirit said, oh, that's what's happening. Yeah, everyone's being separated into groups of people like themselves. The law of attraction. And Chalk Body Outline puts forth the concept that America's about to get a divorce and we're going to separate into the vaxxers and the non-vaxxers, and he might be right. And that coincides with what I've said for 20 years, that there will come a time when the difference between the life experience of the no's and the no-nots is even more drastic than the current difference we see between the haves and the have-nots that can live within 1 mile of each other on the other side of the train tracks and live in 2 different worlds. Their daily experience is so different, yet they live within 1 mile of each other, but it's like they live in 2 different worlds. And that there is coming a change and a separation where the difference in the daily life experience of the no's and the no-nots is even greater than the difference between the life experience of the haves and the have-nots that we can currently see. Should that divorce happen, that prediction will have come true. 20 years ago at the same time, I was saying the only currency that will be of any value is trust. And the only social security you're going to have is the security that you build within your own society, within your own community, family and friends and neighbors. We're real close. So, Chalk Body Outline discusses the divorce that's about to happen. How we're going to separate into like-minded people. And that's what people in his comments section are saying. Bring it on. It'll be nice to be around like-minded people. Utah just passed laws that say there will be no mandatory vaccinations by government or corporations, and that anyone can carry a gun concealed without a permit. I'm feeling pretty good about being a Utah right about now. James True's recent stream called White Slavery Matters explains slavery and how it's a wizard word, spell casting. And everything he says in that video, it's about an hour long. Chalk Bodies is like 5 minutes long. James True's like an hour. Everything James True covers parallels what I've covered before when it comes to Mason Weaver, and he said, what will you do with the rope? The difference between a slave and a prisoner is a mindset. A slave doesn't want off the plantation. A prisoner, as soon as a rope gets thrown over the wall, they'll use that rope and get out of here. A slave will go tell master, hey, they're getting away. We separate into slaves and prisoners. That's what COVID is, death of the sheep. And James explains, again, like he has before, that this is a eugenics, psychological eugenics. How does the Bible put it? They do it to themselves. And so, as I said in the song, Natural, if you're a natural fit for this world, where you gotta be so cold to make it in this world, living your life cutthroat, you're a natural, you're a perfect fit for this world. But in the long run, in this world, survival of the fittest equals dog eat dog, kill or be killed. And if you've survived and thrived within this world, then in the long run, you're not going to. Because in the long run, the long curve of the universe bends toward the arc of justice and truth. And that's why during this eugenics, same thing as evolution, evolutionary psychology means promoting a certain psychology. Psychological eugenics means killing off a certain psychology or mindset. The sheep mindset. COVID, Ovid means sheep, and the letter C means death or slaughter. I haven't confirmed the first part, but I know Ovid means sheep. And so that's what we're doing, is letting those with the sheep mindset go do it to themselves. And we will be separating into those who are like ourselves. And Mason Weaver explained the difference between a slave and a prisoner. And James goes to a great extent explaining much of the same stuff. So as this separation goes down, everyone's going to have a choice to make. And it's probably going to split into geographic regions. Those mindsets. That's what Chalk Body Outline's talking about, and in his comment section, people are considering two Americas. They're already talking about, have been for a long time now, that there's two presidents. There's a parallel government running here. De jure and de facto. On paper, Biden's the president de jure. De facto, Trump still has the powers that be that put him into office running the country. Biden is the face. Biden is the poster child for the de jure. He's the president de jure. Trump is the president de facto. And those two forces, the one that put Biden in and the forces that put Trump in, he didn't get in there on his own. Divisions of the intel agency said, Trump, we got a job for you, because either we got to take this country back with a military coup d'etat, which never goes good, or we can do it over a longer term period. So, watch James True's stream. Someone told me, yeah, I watched, and I respect this person a lot. By the way, she tried to buy, at least 2 or 3 different times, a commercial airline ticket from one continent in the southern hemisphere to the other, like Australia to South America, or South America to South Africa. You can't get one. Every commercial airline flight always goes up above the equator from South America and then back down below the equator to South Africa. From South Africa, it goes up above the equator and then back down below the equator to Australia. You can't buy a direct flight from one southern hemisphere continent to another southern hemisphere continent. That would make sense if instead of a ball, you unroll that ball and it's a flat circle. Then the shortest distance between this southern hemisphere continent and that one is a straight line where you go up above the equator and then back down below the equator. Because otherwise, you would have to circle around the outer edge and it would be longer. So they go straight line from one southern hemisphere continent to the other, which takes them across the equator twice. She's a geography teacher. I think a college professor in geography. The consciousness of this petri dish has been filtered because people choose of their own volition to move along. And those that stick around are the adults in the room. So I'm going to remove the children and the psychic vampires and those who are mentally and emotionally disturbed with arrested growth and development, who disguise their venom as constructive criticism. So this lady tells me, yeah, I watched James True for a while on Jeff's recommend, but he's full of himself. Principles before personalities. That's a reference to his character. He's got a character defect, so I'm not going to listen to all of the jewels of knowledge he's delivering. Principles before personalities. Ideals before idols. You don't have to idolize him. Guess what? I'm pretty full of myself too. One of the things he's telling you is quit shitting on ego, as if it's a bad thing. So, Chalk Body Outline and James True Stream's most recent videos are essential content for those who want to keep up. Because this is Earth School. And it's clear that some of us are being separated from others. And I said this before when I was going to Missouri, and I'm going to start calling it Independence. Instead of going to Missouri, I went to Independence, Missouri. Gone to Independence in my mind. In my mind, I'm going to Independence. Can't you see the dragons? Can't you just feel the plasma? I'm going to Independence in my mind. So on my way out to Independence, before COVID, I was saying that if you are a conscious being, you can see the difference between yourself and those around you. As a conscious being, you can see that those around you are not. And you can see that there's a big difference between you and them. COVID has exacerbated, amplified, and made that glaringly obvious, the between those who want to be a slave and ascribe to collectivism, or those who want to get out of the prison and be independent. Those who want to be a sheep put themselves in the middle of the sheep herd. Well, what position do you take on the subject matter? Instead of independently using their own eyes and ears and information processor, they take a survey and find out where everyone else stands on the issue, and then triangulate the position they take in proximity to where everyone else stands. And typically they want to be right in the middle of the herd, because that's the safest place. If you're a sheep, is in the middle of the flock, not out on the edge where you might get attacked. That's the hassle-free zone that David Icke talks about. Shall I, shan't I exit the hassle-free zone and think for myself? And go out there into the forbidden information zone, where I will get hassled by all the other sheep to get back in here between the lines of the well-beaten path of the drones and clones. And if you choose to blaze your own trail off into the wilderness, the other sheep are trained to hassle you back into the flock. So, people that come through in the comment section that are not equipped to engage in conversations like this, I'm just going to remove them. I haven't ever banned anybody, and there's only one person whose comments I remove regularly, and they know who they are. And they obviously have mental emotional disturbances because they just keep giving their 2 cents, even though I've told them I erased your comments. As I read the first 3 words, and I know that they know I erase every comment, they don't say, hey, was it something I said? Why do you erase all my comments? They say, I don't give a shit whether or not you like what I have to say. I'm going to keep polluting your comment section. But I'm not going to make an example of that person. Just these. From this point forward, I'll just be hitting delete in order to maintain the high level of discord that we have going here and not reduce it to the lowest common denominator of mental and emotional development. Retards. Some of us are advanced and some of us not so advanced, and that's called retarded. And I'm not going to cater to the lowest common denominator of understanding, nor to people that just walked into the room and said, hey, I missed that. Can you start over? No, I can't. Someone asked me for where's the video on your microchip implant? I'm pretty sure I made a recap video, but all those videos were on my first channel. By the time they wiped out my channel for filming the sun tunnel, I had enough else on my plate that microchip in my ear shrank in priority, and I very rarely talk about it. So no, I'm not going to start over for those who missed it. And if I start another channel, I'll leave this one up for those who want to go back and watch the old videos and educate themselves. They can still comment on this channel, and we will have a separate channel that is by invitation only. And if and when they educate themselves enough, I might give them access to it. But until then, as above, so below. In the macrocosm, the petri dish is being filtered and separated and emptied out and reseeded. On the microcosm of this particular little petri dish, it's time to do the same. I don't like getting new subscribers. Please do not mirror my videos. If you want to mirror the content, make it your content. People say content creator on YouTube. It's a terminology people throw around a lot. Content creator, YouTube content creators. The content on this channel, as far as plasma fire goes, is not my content. I did not create that. That belongs to everybody. So if you want to cover plasma fire, don't use my name in it. Don't bring other idiots to this channel. Seriously wanting about 20 or 30 subscribers. Basically those original 30 people that resubscribed to my channel after it got wiped, and I did this for a year and a half or so with 45 subscribers. I ain't doing it for likes and views and clicks. This is the refinement for the greatest amount of happiness for the most amount of people. It's not about quantity, it's about quality. But I don't want to have to go start another channel somewhere, because like I said, I know some people are kind of counting on me to keep giving them the Jeff Cam hot take on current events as they happen. And I'm going to continue to do that. I have a job to do, and I'm going to do it. And I'm not going to back down, and I'm not going to back out. I'm seeing this through to the end. And in order to do that, I'm going to have to shut some people up who think that their opinion matters. In order that I do not get hostile and lower my vibration to theirs. And that's why I suggest you do not engage with that person. Don't go give them a piece of your mind. It's just like that song Ridiculous said. Skillfully tested, rhythmically possessed with rhymes. And when it was time, Jah gave me the mic after he blessed it, he said, share the lovin', prepare them for second coming, beware of false prophets, cause they got my people bugging. Put on the full armor, you know these fools are gonna wanna talk behind your back, but stay away from the drama. You know that I'ma keep you safe inside the palm of my hand, cause you the man, and that's word to your mama, the man in the arena. So give it to them, it's themselves that they foolin'. Gotta hit them again too quick, what they lack is old schoolin'. You know who's who, whether or not I'm talking to your crew. It's up to you to keep it true. Enough respect due. Those people are getting eliminated from this conversation. Those people who don't belong. Those people who are not adequately equipped to engage in this type of discourse. I'm gonna remove them. I've never banned anybody. I don't know how to ban someone. I think you gotta do it from the laptop or the desktop. I don't think the option's even available from my phone. I don't think I'm gonna ban anyone. I'm just gonna remove their comments as they leave them. And then maybe if someday they have something worth listening to, I might let them speak. But this ain't a democracy here. Equality and diversity are not good things just for the sake of equality and diversity. All opinions are not equally needing to be heard. I was educating those firefighters, not vice versa. The teacher doesn't ask the opinion of all the students in the room. Diversity, equality. Diversity, like we should have a little bit of everything? No. Discernment means you need a lot of some things and very little of others. Not an equal amount of everyone's opinion. Everyone's opinion equally matters. That's not the case. The separation of consciousness on this consciousness farm is going to prove you otherwise if you think that's the case. And some people have spent 20 years not educating themselves and think they want to jump in right at the end and catch up. You can't make up for 20 years of apathy and indifference and failing to educate yourself. But if you have emotional poison and baggage, you can make up for a lot of lost time real quick if you ask for some help. Because if you don't, and as the police officer said at 3 a.m. when he towed my car, I know you're here for a reason, and you've been trying to do things your own way for a while, but I'm just here to enforce the law, and this guy's just trying to go to work at 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, and you're in his driveway, so I gotta tow your car. You can keep trying to do it yourself and do it your own way, but I suggest you ask for help. Because when the spiritual switch gets flipped on, those people that still have ugliness in their heart, that's what Pockets of the Future Paul Romano talks about. Removing the grossness from your heart is what happens through the transmission, the spiritual transmission of the heartfulness meditation system that he engages in. That if you had your full spiritual power switch flipped on and you still have grossness in your heart, it's going to tear you up and eat you alive. And that's what's going to happen if we get a divorce and the collectivists with the collectivists and those who are independent with the others who are independent. The collectivists are going to eat themselves alive. Those who have grossness in their heart, that venom is going to spew, and they're going to spew it upon each other. And they will devour one another very quickly. But you'll need to be prepared to sit home for 6 months and defend your castle. Much of everything you see going around is a distraction from what's really happening. The pole shift. There's all these new rumors of world war in order to allow different countries to move troops around and get in position for when the shit goes down. I've been prepared for this. The last 2 years, 3 years now, the things I said then have aged well and proven to be true. And the things that haven't been proven to be true, you're about to see. So we're going to get rid of some of those people. And to those of you who know that you know as much about plasma fire as I do, because you've been watching this as long as I've been making them, feel free to help some of those newcomers and their remedial first grade questions catch up to speed. Maybe even direct them to a video that will answer their questions that you remember. Oh, here, you'll find the answer to that question in this video. Take the lead. Become a self-appointed moderator of this comment section if you feel so inclined. Because I don't want to have to start another channel somewhere and invite a few people over, but I'm considering it because that's what time it is. And I ain't looking to reach lots of new people, but shout out to Chalk Body Outline. He mirrored one of my videos. I didn't actually see it. I don't see it on his homepage. Maybe it just goes out through notifications, and if you mirror someone else's stuff, it doesn't go on your homepage. But I'm pretty sure he did. Someone said it in the comment section, and that video got like over 1,000 views. And I watched one of his videos where he mentioned, that Jeff Snyder looking at a tree and talking about the plasma apocalypse with one of the guests who he was interviewing. I don't like the term plasma apocalypse, because when he said that, the person's like, oh, yeah, as if they know what he's talking about. Surely they're like, oh, well, that's some hypothetical future event that people think may have happened in the past and may happen again in the future, as opposed to no, it's happening right now all around us. So the term plasma apocalypse, when someone just nods their head and goes, oh, yeah, as if they know what you're talking about, they don't. They got that concept from Mia, Brian, and J Dreamer Z. If they knew it's happening all around them, and they could go out in their backyard and see it for themselves, they would. Clearly there is a veil placed over their eyes, as I said on my way to independence, for a short time. And when that veil gets removed, and they can see everything, there won't be a single place they can look and not see the face of God. They will see it in the others, but not in themselves, and they will tear each other apart. One of the things I've shown you is that the parable of the beam and the mote is referring to pupil shape, or you can continue to believe that it's referring to a 4x4 sticking out of your face. How many of you have Googled that to see it for yourself? I would say you all fall into one of three categories, minus about 2%. 2% of the viewers might have already seen a sculpture, mural, or painting depicting the parable of the beam and the mote with a guy who's got a 4x4 sticking out of his face. The other 98% fall into three categories. Either they Googled it because they wanted to see it for themselves. They don't want to see it and they don't want to believe it, so they just, pay attention to whatever the next thing you said is. Or they don't need to Google it and they know damn well that what I speak is truth. Which one are you? Or do you just continue to believe in the 4x4 sticking out of your face version? It'll be like in the end of the movie They Live, when everyone can see everyone for their true colors. And they will see it in the others, but not in themselves. And in that way, the pits that they dug for us, they themselves will fall into. Those pits are fear, animosity, hatred, contempt, bitterness, ridicule, condemnation prior to investigation of all those evil, demonic, serpent, reptilian, fallen angels, Luciferian, Nephilim, whatever other buzzwords they have. They will eat each other alive. This is the type of conversation we're going to have, and a lot of people just are not equipped to have it. So with that, I'm going to bring this to an end. I don't even know how long we've been going or if it's on another video yet. We're 27 minutes. Here, let me just flip it around. Show you the tree, the flat bottom tree. Do people not want to see the flat bottom trees? Because I noticed it seems like maybe people don't want to see the flat bottom trees. Or maybe they recognize, oh shit, he's opening up a new can of worms. 3 years down the road, half the trees will be missing, and we'll still be the only ones who know about it. And I don't want to be there, so maybe the thumbnail in that photo was more than you can bear to witness, and you just, I can't bear to witness, I can't see anymore. Just, do people not want to see it? Can you not bear to witness? Because that's what we're here for, is to witness. And with that, I am going to bring this to a close and say thank you to the people who have participated. Just a quick gravy sampler. Wheezing the gravy. Some of this I may have already heard, but I'm just buzzed through it real quick. But your sampler for the next one is going to be good. The time loop, the Groundhog's Day effect, including Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, where they learn how to time travel. And he's like, dude, once we get back to the future, that's another one, Back to the Future. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Groundhog's Day, the movie Terminator, where he sent himself back into the past in order to help himself fight the war. The song Silent Running, and the music video Believer by Imagine Dragons. So Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, Back to the Future, Groundhog's Day, Terminator, Silent Running, and Believer. There's 6 versions of the same time loop story. We're covering that in the upcoming videos. I will include the music videos by Imagine Dragons called Believer, where he's in a boxing match with his future self. And when he says, I want to quit, his future self says, we can't. Maybe that's what we did, is set, and that's the narrow gate that we forced ourselves to get through in order to progress. Because here in this world, survival of the fittest is kill or be killed, dog eat dog, but in the larger world, the fittest to survive is that which promotes life. And I've been explaining to you, our economy causes people to give as little as possible and take as much as possible, and the difference between the two is your profit margin. And they're encouraged to infinitely expand your profit margin. There's no point at which it's like, okay, maybe I should take a little less or give a little more. No. Always give less, take more in every transaction, and the difference between what you gave and received is your profit margin. You're a natural in this world. You're a success. But in the long run of the universe, that is not behaviors that are conductive to promoting life. Therefore, that is not a behavior trait that is the survival of the fittest. Those are the ones that gotta go. The more you have in a bank account, it shows that you gave the least and took the most. So we're going to be talking about that time loop in the next video. James True's White Slavery Matters parallels Mason Weaver's What Will You Do with the Rope, Jim Jones's Island, that we are all slaves upon. I've talked about this before. That we are all slaves upon, and about to get the perimeter breached by those who will liberate us from the tyranny of our own ignorance that we are actually slaves. The CBO divorce, Chalk Body Outline divorce, parallels are the no's and the no-nots will have a different life experience greater than the haves and the have-nots. COVID means death of sheep mentality, death of sheep mentality, and evolutionary psychology that makes the universe always arc in the direction of justice and truth requires a thinning of the herd through psychological eugenics, the survival of the fittest, to promote life in the universe, as opposed to those who are a natural success in this world, where dog eat dog, kill or be killed is the criteria by which the fittest survive in the short run temporal existence of this life, but in the long run the meek shall inherit the earth. No one expected the long run consequences to actually be in their lifetime, and that's why they lived according to the rules of this world of kill, steal, and destroy. And the less you give and the more you take is your profit margin. And it may be a lie of scale, and that's why people assume that it was thousands of years since the last reset, and it will be thousands of more years before the return of Christ. The Return to Innocence by Enigma, and The Point of No Return by Kansas, which is the return of knowing, as in the return of truth, is reintroduced, and truth is a valued commodity, and we no longer live in a world where truther is a pejorative ascribed to those who do not love the lie. CBO Chalk Body Outline divorce parallels the island prison or petri dishes that we get separated into and live with others who are just like ourselves. And the tolling of the division bell had begun. That's the song by Pink Floyd. My video, The Day the Cathedral Was Burning, was that Judgment Day has begun, and it's longer than 24 hours. Angel of the Winds Arena, that I passed by in Everett, Washington, appears to be named after the angel in the whirlwind that George W. Bush spoke of. And that whirlwind is called Mariah, my niece, who just joined the Satanic Temple. Her name is Mariah. Maybe those Chinese ghost cities are for the newcomers. That's about enough gravy straight from the tap. See you next time.